Sitaram and Namaskar. Sitaram is a greeting in my home country of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm sure many of you all here might not know that much about Trinidad and Tobago. You know of Brian Lara, Sunil Narayan, Kyron Pollard, Dwayne Bravo. But there's much more to us. We, unlike a lot of the other countries and delegates that are present here today, are rooted in our background of Sanatan Dharma. Now, I belong to an organization which is called the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha. We belong to an organization that was born and rooted through our ancestors who came to the West Indies in 1845, and their only means of staying together and holding that bond and staying true to their culture was through these evening gatherings and meetings where they held close and had the recitation of their holy texts. And as we continued and we forged ahead, in 1952 we gained independence from Britain, and we began to venture, brave as we are, into the field of politics and educating our people, because we learned that through education that was the way to move forward. I'm giving you this preamble so that I could go in and venture in now into what Jaagriti is all about. The word Jaagriti, as we interpret it in the West Indies, in Trinidad, means an awakening. So we term it a new awakening. Jaagriti has a lot to do with a need that was formed, that was seen, to educate and to continue to educate our people. The Mahasabha has 52 primary schools, 8 secondary schools, and 45 early childhood centers. They're all run by the Mahasabha through the goodwill of the community and the Hindu community. We've also been a society and a people that have been victimized to an extreme. Any aspiring law student now who would look up the most recent cases where the Privy Council has ruled that a sitting government has discriminated against a group on religious grounds would see the Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha first and foremost. In the case of our national award of our country, which is given every year at independence, it was named the Trinity Cross. And the religious head of the Mahasabha, Sanatan Dharma Mahasabha, we refer to him as the Dharmacharya. He was awarded that Trinity Cross, but he refused. It was the first time in our history that he refused. And we took a legal stand that we will now take it to the Privy Council and go through the High Court, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal. And when it reached the laws in the Privy Council, they ruled that it was unjust, ordered the sitting government of India to change it immediately. Through the school broadcasting network in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a system where every day an hour is put aside to all the schools, the nominational schools, which are state assisted, and the government schools, where there's prayer, devotion, and announcements are made. Not once was a Hindu prayer ever played. Through the leaders of our organization, that we would take it a step forward. This can't work. We have 35 plus schools at that point in time. This is in the 1995 period, and we couldn't get a single Hindu prayer, not even close to the Diwali time, being played. There was always this universal prayer. You had all of these Hindu children sitting down there, and you can't even let them say their own prayer. They must wait until they go to the temples. So we said, okay, let's apply, like every other grouping, to the relevant authorities. That's all right, that's all right. We'll go with it as it goes. To the relevant authorities to grant us our own broadcasting license. Why is it that the media in Trinidad must only be given out and based to those with the financial backing, the wealth? Why is it that a non-governmental organization or religious organization such as ourselves, who want to promote our ideals and our concepts of Sanatan Dharma, not have a voice on the airwaves?
in my country, there are 38 radio stations. Out of those 38 radio stations, only two are Indian formatted, and only one is Hindu formatted. What I mean by Hindu formatted is that at any given time of the day, the only music you will hear on it are bhajans, chalisas, gayatris. We follow a strict regime where we observe the Sandhya every day at 6 p.m. A strict regime where we play certain music at 4 a.m. So when we did apply in 1997 to get this broadcasting license, you go to the Telecommunications Authority, this sort of thing. At the very same time, an African gentleman who was at the time one of the biggest financiers of the sitting party applied at the same time, and within 24 hours he was granted a license and we were refused. This dragged on for 3 years. So we decided, you know what, let's take a legal stance on this, the same way we did with the Trinity Gross. So we took the legal stance with it. Because why is it that what is out there in the media, the news that is reported, the music that is played, the talk shows, the content, the interaction between people must be controlled by a certain group? So we went into it, and there was a young gentleman who was part of the Sanatana Dharma Mahasabha. He was a regular member of one of our temples. We have 357 branches. We have 5 in the United Kingdom, we have 13 in the United States, and the rest are based in Trinidad, Suriname, Guyana, St. Lucia we have 2, and across the Caribbean. Jamaica we have 3. So there's this young lawyer. He said, I'm going to take up this case. His name is Anand Ram Logan. We took up the case. It lasted 7 years, from the year 2000 to the year 2007. And we were finally granted that license, where the Privy Council once again ruled that the sitting government of the day had discriminated against a grouping based on their religious beliefs, and ordered them forthwith to grant us that license. The lawyer who fought that case for us is currently the sitting Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. So once we were granted this license, we decided, okay, we're going to launch Jaagriti. Let's do this. A lot of people said to us, well, you fight this case for 7 years. Now, he did all of this legal work pro bono for us. What are you going to do with this Jaagriti station? What is it going to be about? You're coming, you're launching, you're saying you're different, you're a Hindu radio station, a Hindu media house. What does it mean to be a Hindu media house? This is how we start, and this is our jingle, what you hear every 15 minutes. Oh, it's giving some trouble. All right, no problem. I'll just continue and talk then. But I had prepared for you all some snippets of what we did and how we continue and how we propagate with our programming and this and that. But one of the other things that I saw were objective. Well, I continue while I try to fix the technical difficulties, right? So we started, and there was a lot of discrepancy and whatnot within the market. People were looking at us, well, is sure this going to work? This is a cosmopolitan society. What makes you think that you come out with a Hindu media station, a Hindu radio station, a Hindu media house, are you going to get any response? In all honesty, the first year that we were on air, every year in Trinidad and Tobago, there's something called an MFO survey, which is done by independent groups through the University of the West Indies, which gauge the listenership, the response, this, that, and the other. We got 1%. After our very first year, 1%. Our overhead costs, day-to-day running costs, were much more than our revenue. So, all right, we got to continue with this. Can't fight for 7 years, go all the way to the Privy Council, come out with this idea and this concept that, you know what, the Hindu people need a voice. Because one thing about the Hindus in Trinidad and Tobago is that when Mr. Sushil was speaking at the opening, he used the term when he was in reference to the self-hating Jew. In Trinidad and Tobago, one thing about Hindus is that the sitting and the first prime minister and the longest serving prime minister of our country referred to the Hindu people as a hostile and recalcitrant minority. And we hold that Hindus in Trinidad and Tobago very, very deep and dear to our hearts. We don't ever let that go, because you cannot run over us. For a prime minister who ruled for almost 30 years, to refer to us as that meant that he could not break us, could not break the people, their mindset, their mentality, what they were. So we never have, and we never will give up. The very first college we started we named it the Lakshmi Girls Hindu College. The Lakshmi Girls Hindu College was laughed at and referred to as the see-through college, because it was an old hotel that didn't even have windows or anything. And through benefactors, we said, all right, you know what, we would do this and let's give our Hindu girls a place to go. So we continued with that. And this is part of the struggle that Jaagriti was all about. Today, Lakshmi Girls Hindu College is the second highest and second ranked all-girls college in the country. This year, the girls from that college, out of a class of 120 that sat CAPE examinations, CAPE is our equivalent in the Caribbean of the GCE advanced level. They received 29 open scholarships from the government, which means that they could go anywhere in the world and travel and their tuition will be paid. And we continued along this mode of using this media. And why I mention the colleges is because on a daily basis, from each one of our 5 colleges, we dedicate 2 hours to the students of the college, where they come into our studios and they hold discussions pertaining to issues that are burning of the day. They use this now as not only a forum for the youth to vent their issues, but for them to have an impact and an influence on the news. Because we realize that the purpose of news and media is not only for entertainment. Media is a form of educating, a transmission of knowledge, a transmission of information from one person to the next. It's not only going in your car and turning on the radio to hear your favorite song playing, to bob along your head and clap your hand. It's a form of educating yourself, of knowing that, hey, this is happening, this is going on. But it's also a form of you having a voice to comment on the issues that make the news, to comment on the issues that could impact and influence. So we continued along, and by the 3rd year of our operation, we were able to gain 8% of the market share within 4 years, being strictly Hindu. Strictly Hindu. At present day, the population of Trinidad and Tobago, the latest CSO survey, which is Central Statistical Office, puts the East Indian population at 35%. And out of that, the Hindu population is 28% of the national population, compared to 10 years, 15 years ago, where it was only 20%. And I say that in the context that a lot of people will think in these small Caribbean islands, all those who follow, well, I know you're not supposed to say Hindu, I've been saying it a lot, you're supposed to say Sanatan Dharma. But in the Western world and in the Caribbean, there's no such thing as, you're defined, you're a Hindu, that's it. No Sanatanist, and this, you're a Hindu. Plain and foremost, they don't refer to you as a Sanatanist or this or that or the other, you're a Hindu. Right? I mean, we classify all Christians as Christians, whether you're Anglican, whatever you are, Protestant, Jehovah, this, that, Christian. So it has shown, and it goes to show, that with the advent of what we went into, the Hindu media, which is a term that a lot of people find strange to understand, because media is all encompassing. It's not supposed to be restricted for one group alone. It's not supposed to be, a lot of people have the concept too, where they hear about these Hindu schools, or what you call denominational schools, that it's only for Hindu children. No, it doesn't work that way. in a society that's open and all-encompassing, you educate, you reach out, and whether they want to grab the hand and take it or not, it's entirely up to them. We have been able to grow exponentially, where out of the 28% that are practicing Hindus in Trinidad and Tobago, now our population is 1.3 million. Out of the 28%, 6% out of that 28% are non-Indians. Are non-Indians. They are Chinese, Syrians, Africans, mixed, who are practicing Hindus. And when I say practicing Hindus, they're probably stricter Hindu than me. Right? They're even stricter Hindu than me. So they are very strict practicing Hindus. Only recently, about 2 years, we ventured into television. And our television is the exact same replica where we are on all 3 cable networks. If the slide was working, I'd show you some of our user statistics because we also stream 24 hours a day online. So far, between April to October 31st, we've had over 3 million logs into the websites to view all of our programming in that 4-month period. Diwali Day, we were able to bring live on TV in Trinidad along all 3. We have 3 major cable networks in Trinidad, cable providers. We're on with all 3. We were able to bring 2 hours of live Diwali celebrations from New York. So both people in New York and those in Trinidad were able to see it and communicate with each other. That's the purpose of the media. A form of communicating, a form of sharing that information. The Caribbean struggle is one very different to what you would face in Bharat, what you would face in the UK, what you would face in anywhere else of the world, in Mauritius or Fiji. It's different. But we were able to use that community feeling, that grouping together that was brought to us by our ancestors. That the only way they could have stick together and hold together as a people was to go nightly and meet in these little panchayats. And the one pundit or whoever it was would bring out the Ramayana or the Bhagavad and read. In 2010, something historic happened in Trinidad, where for the very first time we had a female prime minister. That female prime minister was not only the very first female prime minister, but she was the very first female Hindu prime minister. As Kamla Prasad Bisasa. And I draw reference to that because when I told you about when we opened Lakshmi Girls Hindu College, which they call the see-through college, the second name on the staff register was Kamla Prasad Bisasa. And she is today the sitting Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the first female Hindu Prime Minister. And it goes to show that when it grew with media, and it does have that influence into people and their way of thinking, because she was instrumental in us getting Jaagriti. And by the time now that Jaagriti was on air in 2007, within 3 years' time, the popularity, but not only the popularity, but the information and the knowledge of the Hindu that was always considered this hostile and recalcitrant minority. The elders who never cared to go out and vote, who always felt, well, you know, I do have a voice. There's nothing I could say or do. They now felt they had a voice, right? So with that, that's my closing. I want to thank you all for your attention, and I'm privileged to be here.